Friday. Q&A. Fanmail. Lovely. Got a letter. Got some package. It's gonna be fabulous. What to talk about? If you have not already joined the World Foam Alliance, I highly recommend you do so. There's gonna be stuff. Al the Geek and I have already moved our weekly or bi-weekly live stream there, and it's now a call-in live stream, so you can call in through Discord. We also, next time, we're going to work on actually answering questions from the comments, the YouTube comments as well. We didn't do that very well last time, so we're going to improve that, take a few calls, answer some comments, take a few calls, answer some comments. That way, everyone's getting equally represented, or at least better represented. We'll see how well that turns out. First show turned out way better than I'd hoped. Also, check out Foam Zone with Dart Sweep, the alternate Wednesdays from when Al the Geek and I are there, and I will be starting another series for them, or restarting one of my own series and doing some exclusive content for them. And then there's all the big plans that we have, you know, to help improve the hobby going forward. More of that in one of the questions, actually. For events, I am still planning to attend Ragnar Oktoberfest, first weekend of October, and Mutation Mall Madness the weekend after, and then I will probably curl up in a ball and die. So, yeah. Let's answer some questions. Nefump asks, did the crew ever have a Jolly Roger? Yes! We basically used Emmanuel Wayne's Jolly Roger, which was the skull with the bones behind the skull instead of below it. And then below it was the hourglass, which is where we got the hourglass, and then by flipping the triangles of the hourglass is how we got the anti-glass of the auxiliary. The one that we actually marched with and carried had then 4 bones going around it to create a border, which was mostly just decoration. But yeah, not entirely sure where that flag is. I might have it, or it might still be with the rest of our gear back in Idaho. Huntress236. What are your thoughts on Nerf getting involved in the Nerf Pro game, especially sponsoring one of the kings of modding out of darts? So this goes back to kind of the World Foam Alliance thing. I think it is awesome because Hasbro has both manufacturing capabilities that we simply do not have, and they had advertising capabilities, marketing capabilities that we simply do not have. And them getting into the game means they're going to market the game, and that is going to draw people into our hobby, and then we're going to... It could be good, it could be bad, we will see. It's all going to come down to the people that we get, and how well we handle the growth. Because, I mean, my local game is already starting to reach capacity, and all of this hasn't even kicked in yet. There are millions of people in the between Seattle and the Portland area, and if we, double our numbers, we're going to have issues with space at that point, which means we will probably need to encourage more clubs to form. So a club up in the Seattle area, a club down in the Portland area, and occasionally we get together and do a big event. And that's something that, yeah, like I said, Nerf's advertising, their marketing has the ability to do that. Whether that's how they're going to approach it, I'm not sure. I assume they're going to have their own tournaments, they're going to have their own style, they're going to do their own thing, they're going to have Nerf Ball or whatever they're planning to call it. And whether they plan to integrate that with anything that already exists, I don't know. But people are going to become aware of it because we are going to get involved and we are going to talk about it and we are going to, it's going to grow. And so you're going to get overlap, and I'm definitely hoping they come out with more blasters, because the Strife X is a fabulous blaster. Or if you've seen my reviews, you know why. There were people from the hobby involved. The fact that they, as you said, reached out to one of the kings of modding out of darts means that they aren't trying to pretend we don't exist anymore. They are actually reaching out to us, and especially like Out of Darts and myself, who are well known for modding, who have kind of been blacklisted by Hasbro because of our modding, or at least I was. I don't know about Out of Darts. But the fact that they reached out to us, recognizing that these are people we need to talk to, and the fact that they had people from the hobby working on the Strife X, which is why it's so good. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come out with next. I'd like to see a full auto, I'd like to see a select fire, and I want them to be the same build quality of the Strife X, because that's, in many ways, there are things about the Strife X that are beyond our capabilities, because we don't have Hasbro's manufacturing capability. And so they can make things better than we can. They can have things custom made and have more R&D and engineers and all of this. we do a great job. We build some cool stuff, and so a lot of our stuff is obviously more advanced and more powerful than anything Hasbro's likely to come out with. But the stuff they are likely to come out with are going to be solid. They are going to work. They're not going to melt in the sun. They're not going to break along stress lines. They're going to be professionally manufactured, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited about what they do marketing-wise and how that may grow our hobby. There is some trepidation, but I'm choosing to be optimistic. So there are my thoughts. One Scimitar. Have you ever played MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries? No. Windlepoons. Have you ever listened to the BBC radio series Cabin Pressure? No, but I will have to look it up now. Rix Rigum. Are you going to make another melee weapon to potentially replace your machete and kukri? Probably not to replace. I mean, there are some things I like that those two don't quite cover, but for the most part, they cover the vast majority of the combat style that I do, whether it be Afterworlds or Nerf events. And so I haven't yet because I haven't needed to, but that doesn't mean I won't at some point. We will see if I'm able to finally get more involved in Afterworlds. I may have to make more melee. But we'll see. We'll see. No plans at the moment. Burusta. At the HVZs you attend, how are toilet breaks handled? Everyone that I have been to, it's if you need to go to the bathroom, you take your bandana off and you go out of play and you go to the bathroom. And some of the reason that they were that way was because I insisted they be that way. Because it's a health issue. You know, if someone needs to go to the bathroom, they need to go to the bathroom. They shouldn't have to fight their way to the bathroom. They shouldn't have to, you know, risk holding it too long or fouling themselves because they couldn't get to a bathroom safely because they might get attacked by zombies. That's ridiculous. This is a game. It's not that serious. You take your bandana off and you go to the bathroom. Could somebody abuse that? Yeah, but if they're the kind of person that would, they were going to find something to abuse anyway. And it really is a health issue. It's a public health issue. If you need to go to the bathroom, you go. I've never had to escalate it because anytime I pointed out, you know, this is a health issue, they just need to take their bandana off and go. People have agreed. Now, sometimes they agreed because they were then able to make getting back into the game a bit of a problem. And I'm okay with that. It still somebody might choose not to go to the bathroom for fear of not being able to get back in. But if it came to the point that they couldn't hold it anymore, they can go out and safely go. So I'm okay with making it a little bit more difficult to get back in. Either you have to go right in from wherever you are. You go into this building, when you come out of that building, you're back in play. I've also had ones where, no, you had to go back to staging. You had to go back to the safe zone or whatever and go back into play there, which, you know, if you're either going to be doing it alone or your squad's going to have to go and your squad might be at risk. But needing to go to the bathroom, you need to go to the bathroom. You take your bandana off, you go out of play, you go to the bathroom. So, yeah, it's how it's been handled everywhere I've been, and it's how it should be handled. If you're playing in a game that is not doing that, you need to have a chat with the mods about how this is unsafe and uncool and unfun. And if they give you any pushback, honestly, I would go to the school administration. I've never had to. I've never even had to threaten to, but I have always been prepared to if they said, no, you gotta fight your way to the bathroom, and if the zombies get you, ha ha ha. No, that's just not acceptable. It's not fun, it's not safe, it's not okay. So, luckily, never been a problem. When hopefully it never will be. So, StarDust Sakura. I understand you were not a fan of first-person games, but are you a fan of top-down turn-based games like XCOM series, Xenonauts, Phoenix Point, Fallout 1, 2, Tactics? The only one of those I've ever even heard of was Fallout, and I've never played it. No, I'm not a fan of turn-based combat, like party D&D style combat or whatever style of combat. I do like turn-based world-building strategy games or empire-building strategy games, so Civ and Total War and Fantasy Empires, those kind of games. I enjoy that. But the individual combat ones has never interested me enough to even want to try it, so I have not. Also, what is the highest FPS you've ever seen or heard a dart flying? So the highest I've ever seen was 500 FPS, and that was one that I built, and then regretted making the video and took it right back down again. I have heard of people getting Caliburns up to 500 and Swifts up to 500. With the right springs and seals and whatever else and darts and all that, you can get them up that high. The highest I've ever heard anybody getting one was 1500 feet per second, which is considerably beyond the speed of sound. And they did it as, you know, as one of the YouTube channels that does weird science experiments. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. And they used a vacuum-sealed, compressed air type cannon, and were able to shoot through like a half-inch of pine with a Nerf dart, a modified Nerf dart, in order to keep it from shredding itself with that much energy. But that's the highest I've heard, 1,500 feet per second. Alan Sutherland. What is the cheapest way to make a high rate of fire strife? Assuming already having a strife, soldering tools, but no lipo or chargers. High rate of fire. Well, the cheapest would be pull the trigger really fast. But that's only going to get you so far. There is no... I asked if you had a 3D printer and you don't. The cheapest would be to print a full auto kit. Barring that, you're going to need to buy a full auto kit. Worker has one. Several other people sell full auto kits for the Strife. And that's going to be the cheapest. But you're gonna need to get a lipo if you want to have a high rate of fire, because you have to have a lipo's current to be able for the flywheels to keep up with a high rate of fire. Other times, every time a dart goes down, the wheels slow down a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And if you don't have high torque motors that have enough current, they're going to get bogged down, and you're not going to be able to keep up with the rate of fire. But you can get a fairly... I mean, you're going to need to get motors. Hypothetically, you can get away with not getting a new cage or new wheels, but it is going to sound like a train going by at very close range when you rev that thing. It's going to sound like a jet engine. So you're going to want to get good wheels, you're going to want to get a good motor, you're going to want to get a good cage, and you're going to need to get yourself a full auto kit. It's not going to be horrifically expensive. I mean, I don't know what your budget is. Already having the blaster and having all the tools is a huge part, but you're still looking at $50, $60, $70 in parts, not including your lipo and your charger. The other option would be to get one of the Select Fire kits. There are some Select Fire kits that are designed to run on cool look batteries, the IFR batteries, but they're limited in their rate of fire on account of being limited by the current of the batteries and all of that. I would go with building an auto Strife using one of the various kits that exist. Again, you're gonna have to splurge on a lipo and charger, which you should anyway. It's the standard for the hobby, and it's something you should do. Game mode repository. In your opinion, sir, you're coming right at me. I cannot allow. Game mode repository. In your opinion, what is the best semi-auto flywheeler with a rev trigger for competitive play that is sub $200? Are there any of those criteria that you would change in favor of us to select a different blaster for competitive play? Given the average player's ability, how much benefit would you say a player would get from upgrading from your previous selected blaster to something like a Momentum, an FDL, or an SBF? So, quite honestly, currently, what I think is the best semi-auto flywheeler with a rev trigger for sub $200 is the Strife X. I don't think it's actually available on the market yet, but it's a fabulous blaster. It hits 150, 160 with half darts. It's built for half darts. It comes with the battery. You don't need any of that. It's $120. It takes Talon mags, and it is just a really, really solid blaster. You would easily be able to compete against most stuff with that fairly comfortably, if you had a good team. A lot of it's going to come down to how good you are and how good your team is. You know, a good enough player could take the field with a jolt and do well, but, you know, they'd have to be really good. As far as the other two questions, are there any other criteria? Well, obviously, if you increase the price and can get a more expensive blaster, there are significant advantages to a Momentum or an FDL or an SBF. Select Fire is fairly snazzy. The Momentum hits 200 FPS. The FDLs are absolutely solid if you can get your hands on one. The SBF is magnificent. I mean, it's got rifle bearing in, bearing scar, B-car, I think they're called. Also select fire and is adjustable. It also hits in the 160s. So it's not that much more powerful than the Strife X. It just has more options and is probably a little bit more accurate. But way more expensive. You're talking 4, 5, 6 times as expensive to get any of those as a Strife X. And while the Momentum has a significant increase in power, I don't know how much of a difference it would really make. Obviously, going head-to-head with just those two, my money's going to be on the Momentum, but again, it's going to come down to the person. So, yeah, I'm still actually going to stick with the Strife X. It is a remarkably solid starting blaster. Astro Y. What is the best Nerf blaster pistol half-length darts in terms of FPS and capacity? Well, I pretty much covered that in the previous one. For FPS, it's, as far as I know, the Momentum. I'm certain there are other flywheel blasters that hit that. I know I've heard of them. Band blasters get those numbers. The Momentum has the advantage of being really well engineered, having a lot of variation. It's select fire, you can change the settings, the rate of fire, the FPS, all of those can be easily changed, your burst mode. That gives a lot of advantage. Again, I'm sure there are, things like band blasters people have built using, gotten similar stuff. Capacity comes down to what magazine you use. It's rarely a function of the blaster itself. And the highest capacity is going to be the Mythic Drum Mag by Ezekiel. Slow to load, but if you have an ammo cap that is 50 or less, it works really, really well. If you're going to be running a long game, then you're probably better off with, 18-round stick mags as opposed to, or Tachi mags or Coda mags, as opposed to the drum. The advantage of the drum is you get 50 rounds before you have to reload. In competitive play, reloading is when you're at the most risk. And in some it doesn't matter because the ammo cap is so low, you don't need to reload. Other ones where you are allowed to reload, when you're reloading is when somebody, if they're paying attention, that's when they rush and they can get you and stuff like that. So, yeah, the Momentum as far as FPS is my favorite one that I have anyway. What about you guys? What other ones can hit 200 and have the features of a Momentum? Comments. Probably the GNK. I need to look into that one more. I want to build one. And finally, our final question. John Murcott. I'm doing an assignment at school where we are allowed to choose a topic to create a persuasive video. I'm going to do a video on why more people should Nerf and why it isn't just for children. Could you please give a short word giving your endorsement of nerfing? Well, I actually have an entire video on this. If you check my channel for why I nerf, that pretty much covers it all. But the short version is it's really, really fun. And you can get as much out of it as you put into it, which is nice, because if you want to go whole hog and go nuts and get all of this and spend lots and lots and lots of money on fancy blasters, you can, but you don't have to. At Borst, you can show up with a stock blaster that you picked up at Walmart earlier that day and have a wonderful time. Because that's how we intentionally run those wars. And a lot of the public wars that are out there, I know like the Maryland Foam Alliance play that way, and even the people that I played with over in Europe, they played that way, where the public wars that were just for fun are just that. They're for fun. They're designed so that anyone can go and have a good time. There are then separate events for the people that want to get really into it, want to get really competitive, want to have really powerful blasters. That's where we have the PvP leagues. And you can totally lean into it and engineer a blaster to ridiculous degrees and be really accurate and high-powered and really get into your team with squad tactics and strategies and all of that. You can do all of that in Nerf. And then there's LARPing. A lot of LARPs use Nerf. So if you want to get into the role play and put on costumes and play to be in the apocalypse, you can do that with Nerf while still doing all the other things. Because you can do it all if you have the time. And Nerf can be played in places that you can't do airsoft and paintball. You can do Nerf in your backyard. You can do Nerf inside your apartment, in your dorm, in a public park. HVZs use campuses. And as a result, it's often much cheaper than airsoft or paintball, where those places have to have a dedicated arena, and those things cost money, and so you have to pay to play there. We don't charge people to come to Borst, because we don't need to. The park is free, and we already have all the stuff. And so we don't have a $5 fee to play. We happily take donations, and people tend to donate darts. They'll bring darts and then just not collect them, and so we have lots of loaner darts, and that's really cool. But it's a lot of fun, and it's really, really easy to get into compared to other shooting sports. Compared to airsoft or paintball, it's much cheaper and easier to get into Nerf, and you can play it much more casually or much more seriously. And it's everywhere, and it's growing. World Foam Alliance, come be a part of it. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Check out my Why I Nerf video. I go into it in more detail there, and good luck. It's a good topic. It's good. It's definitely not just for kids anymore, as us old men involved are proof of. I hit! Alright, I have some Picars that I'm really quite excited about, but first, we're gonna take a quick ad break, because stuff costs money. Alright, we'll start with the letter. The letter here from Caleb Green. He sends me a lot of letters, and I love it. I like letters. Letters are cool. What do we got? We have a note. Well folded. Oh, good lord. Good lord. To the greatest captain in all of North America. What's going on in South America that I don't know about? In some of your older videos, you made frequent mentions of the 3 wise men and Twelfth Night. Are you religious, or do you just like celebrating the holiday? What advice do you have for anyone in a leadership role? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how huggable would you say you are? Alright, so Twelfth Night is something that was from my medieval group. And it was a Christian celebration, but for us, it kind of was for us too, but it didn't have any religious overtones when we went to Twelfth Night. It was a tournament, it was a feast, it was a fancy court where we gave out awards and stuff like that. I am not religious. I am specifically, distinctly not religious. But I do enjoy celebrating, excuses to be happy. Is what I view most holidays have always been, as an excuse to celebrate, an excuse to be happy and to enjoy life. There are a lot of days that various people hold holy for various reasons, and they're often at the same times of year, in the middle of winter when everything's cold and dismal. Let's have a party. In spring when it's not cold and miserable, let's have a party. It's harvest time. We've got food. Let's have a party. It's a theme throughout pretty much all of the world, or at least places that have those particular seasons. Oh yeah, I made mention to the wise men. I'm curious now. When have I made reference to the wise men? Sounds like something I would do. But yeah, no, not religious. Not at all. What advice would I have for someone in a leadership position? So the trick is to lead, not to rule. My various NCOs and my squads are always somewhat nervous about the fact that I tend to lead my squad from the front, which puts me at risk. But it's really hard to lead from behind. If I get taken out, that's why I have a lieutenant, that's why I have sergeants, that's why I have corporals. The chain of command will take over. And it is important to have a chain of command. Because you can't do it all yourself, and if you get taken out, somebody needs to be in charge, and it's a good idea to have that worked out ahead of time. The other thing to remember is that you're leading for a reason. Being organized in a squad or what have you, in a large company, whatever, having that organization has value, but it only has value because you're organized. And everyone on your team is essential to that. I explained it back when I did medieval recreation. We fought in a shield wall, and everyone on that wall was equally valuable, because if any one of them went down or failed to do their part, the whole thing fell apart. And it is important not to impress upon them that, if you fail, then we all fail, but rather you are as important as every other person on this line. You are valuable. You are needed. You are worthwhile. There is a reason you are here. There's a reason that you are, why I'm leading you. I consider it worth it. Make sure your people know that they are valuable, because that will make them more valuable. And because they are valuable. Because if you didn't have them, you would have no one to lead. And yeah. Again, with leading rather than ruling, there was a great line in the trailer for the original X-Men movie that didn't end up making it into the movie. And it baffled me because I saw it in the trailer and I thought it was such a wonderful line, and then I was waiting for it in the movie and it wasn't there. Where Cyclops tells Professor Xavier he won't follow orders. And Xavier responds, give him an order worth following, and he will follow it. And that is a very important thing. There are times when I have given orders to people knowing that they are not going to survive this. Obviously, it's all in a game, so it's, you know, less jarring. But it's still, I've given orders to people that hold this line, knowing that they're going to get overwhelmed, they're going to get wiped out, or, you know, whether it was in medieval stuff or HVZ or whatever. But they understood that there was a reason I was giving them that order. They understood, one, because I made sure that they understood why I give orders like that. Generally, everyone on my team knows what the plan is, again, so that if I get taken out, they know what they need to do. If the lieutenant gets taken out, the person below them needs to go. We've had battles where all of the officers and NCOs got taken out. It was down to grunt crewmen, and they still completed the mission successfully because they knew what their job was. That was explained to them, so that they weren't in the dark. They weren't just sitting there waiting for me to bark orders at them. They knew what needed to be done. That is also very important, that your people know that the orders you're giving are worth following. And a lot of that comes from experience. You go to enough events and you do good. You lead and they survive, or they lead and they have fun, what have you. They will eventually come to understand that they might not fully understand why you're giving the order, but they understand, they have enough respect for you, they have enough experience from you giving good orders that they are willing to follow your orders, even if they don't understand them. But quite often, if you can give them the briefest of explanations for why they need to do this thing, not only will it give them, you know, more of an incentive to follow your orders, but if you give them the understanding of why you're giving them the order, they may then be able to figure out a better way to do it on the fly. You might have missed something, or the situation might have changed. But if they know what their goal is, they can then improvise a better option. So you say, okay, we need to hold this flank. I need you to go here and do this. But by the time they get there, they're not able to do that. Or suddenly they realize that if they do this, they can curl the enemy's flank, not just hold their own, but curl the enemy's. I want them to know what the initial goal was so that they can do that. But yeah, it's about leading, not about ruling. It was my biggest advice to you. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how huggable am I? Well, I've gotten squishy in my old age. I'm not a huge hugger, but I do accept hugs as long as they are announced. I do not like being glomped, as we called it back in the day. I don't know if people still use that term. But mostly because I have a bad back, and if you just jump on me, you're probably going to jar it, and then I'm going to be laid up for a week, barely able to walk. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks for answering my questions. Bangarang, Caleb, Guy 70. Very cool. And we've got the crew, the auxiliary, my logo, and I assume this one's his down here. Very cool. Very cool. Good questions. Good questions today. Anything else? Anything else? Come on. Nope. Most excellent. Right. Let's open up this little one. It's from Magnus Ordinatus Essinger. Who, if you're not familiar, he sent me the bolter kit that I have, and is one of my all-time favorite blasters that I have ever been sent. What do we get? What do we get? Come on. Open up. Well packaged. We have... Aha! I didn't realize that was you! Oh, that is super cool. One moment. I need to get a thing. Oh, that is lovely. He has sent me holster mounts for the Outlaw in right and left, and just, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, I ordered a second one. So it'll be here, should be here in a couple of days, and then I will have a matching pair. So this will now work with my existing holster mounts. Okay. So, holster mounts. You do have to drill a hole and put a bolt through the rail because the rail doesn't have slots like it's supposed to, because of course it doesn't. But that is easy enough to do. Mounts right on there. Lovely, lovely. That is pretty snazzy. That is awesome. Thank you so much. If there are links, if there is a buy link, I will put it in the description so you can get your own simple solutions, man. Doesn't get in the way of the reload, it doesn't look like. Let me put it on the other side just to check real quick. Nope. Does not hinder reload at all. Super, super cool. And this actually should have been on this side. Not that it really matters with this leg rig because you wouldn't be using the pouches anyway, but that is pretty snazzy. Those are awesome. So yeah, links in the description, and you included the magnets. That is just super cool of you, because I do have some, but I think they're the smaller size. I need to get more for my, I got more blasters I want to put on holster. Awesome, awesome. So yeah, links in the description if they exist. I have another small package. This one from Dream Big Productions, Plush Bat Fan. What? 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 Aha! A note! I think. Greetings! This is a special mail package from Dream Big Productions, Plush Bat Fan. Unfortunately, we are very unhappy regarding the rising gas prices over the past 5 months. Anytime we see on the news about the gas price increase, we look for gas prices that are ridiculously higher, or to overpay on gas. The following table below shows the occasions where we have overpaid on gas and total sales. Inside this package is a sound box, toy manual, and toy catalog. What is good? Was this even meant for me? Does this... I am so very confused now. Yeah, that's my name. Why? What? I think someone is deliberately trying to confuse me. I have no idea what's going on. Not a clue. I got nothing. What? What? Somebody explain yourself. What's going on? Am I being punked? Dubious. Alright. We have one last package. This one from Matthew Yoo-hoo. And it's big and heavy, and I think we all know, well, I don't know about all of you, but we can make an educated guess as to what's going on here. Maybe. A note! There's no such thing as a plea of innocence in my court. A plea of innocence is guilty of wasting my time. Guilty! Lord Inquisitor. Captain, I have sent you, rather unsurprisingly, given the contents of my previous package, yet another Black Library Productions that have, for various reasons, been rendered superfluous on my own personal shelves, aka more books. Also, another thing that is not a book, but likewise superfluous, there are a few broad themes which tie back to the whole why they're extra copies aspect, so here's a detailed breakdown of the contents, starting with the ones that won't fit said broad themes. Why even have rules if you're not going to break them? The content of this box that you should have already opened if you are reading this note at all. as the post-label instructions you to. Wait. Open on camera first, then read the note. I have failed. Alright. We'll open the thing. Open on camera. It's in tissue paper. Leviathan. Darius Hinks. That is a super fancy book. That is a ridiculously fancy book. That is shiny and gillimand and in tissue paper. Alright, I opened it. Now what's going on? Now will you explain yourself? Leviathan, L.E. You're aware of why it is that I send you 40k books, aka I have the really pretty versions, also omnibus copies. So you'll doubtless be confused why you're opening our really pretty limited edition and signed by the author. That is a really simple but cool signature. Version of the tie-in novel for the 10th edition of Warhammer 40k. Surely that wasn't somehow been subsequently rendered superfluous on the shelf. And the answer is that no, it hasn't. I just have, or rather had, 2 of them. I kept copy 1327. Why did I have 2 copies of them? I have no actual explanation to provide you for that, except to say that Games Workshop's fulfillment servitor occasionally made a little whoopsie-daisy, because I came home one day to see not 1 but 2 boxes from them on my porch, each containing a limited copy of Legend, and I definitely only ordered and charged for 1. Clearly the Omnisaya must have wanted you to have 1, and who am I to argue otherwise? That's fair. That happens. These things happen. And I very much appreciate being the beneficiary of their mistake. That is awesome. That will definitely have a place of honor upon my bookshelf. Alright, let's see what else is in here. More books, more books, more books, more books. Let's see. Random Novella Small Anthology, Larger Anthology, Sin of Damnation, Black Library Celebration, good lord, it goes on. Tales of the Unforgiven, books from Chaos Marines. There, I may be getting a package. One moment. Nope, just dish turning around in my driveway. Tales of the Unforgiven, books about Chaos Space Marines, books from the Primarchs. Ooh, books about the Primarchs. Cool. An anthology of short stories focusing on the Primarchs. Sons of the Emperor, Scions of the Emperor. Oh, very cool. Books about wolves that stalk the stars, aka Space Wolves. War of the Fang. Neat. Books about Commissar Severina Rain and the regiment she's attached to. Cool. Books about actions of the Primaris Marines in the Era Indomitus. Honor and Iron, Fist of the Imperium, Apocalypse. Books about the Second Company of Ultramarines. Oh, very cool. Now that has become tradition because I keep doing it. The non-book but still very Warhammer 40k item package includes, this time, what happens to be the Terminator Chaplain Brother Vanius from Joy Toy, and his many, many, many skulls. 31 skulls in total. Alright, let's find skulls. Aha! That is a lot of skulls. Oh yeah, more skulls on the back. Skulls on the bolter. Super cool. He's gonna look he's gonna look so short next to the Sisters of Battle. Oh, that is super cool. Let's see. Unlike last time, I did not actually buy this figure twice on accident, like the Black Legion figures, or deliberately, like the Craig Guardsman Medic. I just had a second Varius because I won him in a very silly contest that, for thematic reasons, ran for a mere 13 seconds. The Ultramarines are the 13th Legion, you see. And thus, he was sent to me for free. Having multiples of things is not what I'm about, though, so good fortune is now your good fortune. I appreciate it. Vanius comes with 2 trigger hands for holding the Stormbolter, 2 gripping hands for brandishing his Crozius Arcanum, and a second sort of loosely open hand if you for some reason wanted to pose him without one or both of those, with the left trigger and right gripping hands installed by default as depicted on the box. His shoulder armor is significantly departure from the way most shoulders are attached on Marines, in that they are pretty much just fixed in place on an only slightly flexible bar that connects directly. Oh, interesting. So he's less posable. His skull helm, on the other hand, has a full normal range of motion you would expect from a double barbell joint. But the sculpt of the surrounding armor being rather in the way of your ability to actually get a grip on either side of the helm to make it fiendishly difficult to manipulate, to the extent that the barbell joint allows, unless you happen to have teensy tiny little fingers, which neither of us do. So I recommend a pair of tweezers for posing the head. Sir! Oh, then he has a picture of his Black Rider. A reasonably current look at the primary bookshelves that are less full than they otherwise might be now that I've foisted the excess tomes onto your shelves instead. That is a beautiful... Oh, Lord, those omnibuses are gorgeous. I see why you're willing to part with the old ones in favor of... Oh, that is gorgeous. Blood for the God Emperor, skulls for the Golden Throne. That is really, really cool. Alright, well, I will be giving all this a quick look. Oh, Assault on Black Reach. A little bitty novel. Black Library Celebration, there's that one. Sin of Damnation. I like that there are some short ones. Shield of Baal, Sons of the Emperor, Angels of Darkness, Fist of the Imperium, Honor and Iron, Scions of the Emperor. Those, I'm looking forward to reading the short stories about the Primarchs. That sounds really cool. Azrael. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Sons of the Hydra. Neat. A Doc Ock looking fella. War of the Fang, Eye of Ezekiel, Honor Bound, Lucius the Faultless Blade. I think I've heard about him. Super cool, sir. As always, you spoil me, and I appreciate it greatly. The limited edition one, that is just super cool. I will be showing that off to the law speaker, and he will most likely be quite jealous. So, yeah. Well, as always, if you have questions you would like answered on this live stream, ask them in the comments of this video. That's where I draw them from. If you want to send me stuff, I am a fan of stuff. Mailing address is also down there. You all spoil me, and I appreciate it. And thank you for watching.